Okay, up next, we're going to learn about D&D. How many people play D&D? I played D&D many, many years ago. But we're going to learn about the 5th edition from Banaszek.
All right, hello. My name is Ash, and I love to role play. I also love to tabletop role play. So, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about Dungeons and Dragons. Now, a lot of people, when they ask about when they hear that I play Dungeons and Dragons, they either say, "Cool, I play too," which a lot of you are, a lot of my people here, or they'll say something like, "Huh, isn't that like a boring, nerdy thing?" And I say, "No, let me paint you a picture." Dungeons and Dragons is kind of like being in a play. So if you think about a play, you've got your stage. You've got your director trying to keep everything together. You've got your playbill letting you know where you are, what sort of play you're in. And you've got your actresses. Now, in Dungeons and Dragons, that director is known as the Dungeon Master, okay, or the DM. The DM's job is to really pull that story out. They control all the environments, the worlds, they're the people that you're talking to, they are the animals, they're the objects that you find, and they settle disputes we're playing pretend here, so sometimes we need some dispute settlement. Now that playbill, that hero's quest, that's your campaign. Now, if you have an inexperienced DM, or if you preferred a more on-the-rails sort of thing, you can buy these campaign books. And what those will do is they'll have encounters, an overall story arc, and things that you can find, people you can fight, etc. It's really easy for beginners to get in, especially if they get one of the more novice, easier to learn campaigns. And then, of course, you have your actors and actresses, also known as your players, and they are your characters. Now, this is where people get really involved. So you've got your character sheet, and some people are very intimidated by it. But really all a character sheet is how your personality is, how strong you are, how fast you are, how smooth you are. And you can really get into your traits, your character's flaws, the things they like, the things they don't like, and you can really dig deep into their backstory about when they were in 7th grade and Billy came by in the playground. I won't get into it. Now you might be saying, wait, don't plays have scripts? How do we know what to say? How do we know what to do? That's where your Dungeon Master comes in. They'll present you with scenarios. Maybe it's a bear that you're going to have to fight or flee from, or if you're in my party, you bribe it with pancakes and name it Sally, and now it just follows you around. There's also different scenarios, things you might have to bargain with, people you might have to appease in the town. So if there's no script, does that mean there are no rules? Well, no. It's still basically a board game. And like other board games, like these far inferior ones, they do have rules, and they do have some randomization components. In Dungeons and Dragons, the randomization component is dice. Now, we have quite a few dice. We very much love our dice. We all have different colors and special bags and little trays that we like to dump them in, and they roll so nicely. But the main one that you want to use is your D20. You pretty much are going to use that for everything. All the other dice, they're mostly there for damage and other circumstances. Generally, the bigger the sword, the bigger the dice. D12, baby. But what I'm really into it for is the role-playing. So to role-play, you behave according to your character's moral compass, their motivations, their flaws, their relationships, their rivals, their bonds. I don't like that guy. Their knowledge, their skills. You can talk in character. If you're playing a rather charismatic character, you might just talk describing the character's speech, their overall manner, and letting people fill in the blanks to make you more charismatic or charming or intelligent. Now, the DM will guide you on when to roll and what to roll. Let's go through some scenarios. Now, first, when you're role-playing, try to stay in character. Not a lot of table talk about pizza, etc., because we don't know what pizza is. We eat mutton here. All right, so let's walk you through. The blue will be the DM, and any other color is a character. So I'm in this situation, I say, hey, do I notice anything odd about these two characters here? The DM says, roll your perception. Hey, can I roll too? All right, you can all roll if you want to size them up, pardon the pun. I rolled an 11, and I have a +2 bonus, so I have a 13. I have a 17. I have an 18. All right, and then the DM will say, all that roll above a 15 notice that they seem surprised by your presence, but recognize you. They seem to be desperate for you to leave. So now you've learned something. Now you can decide to take this scenario further. Some of you, I can tell, are really into this scenario. We're going to find out what happens. So I take 5 steps closer and I say, I know who you are. I know you know who I am and why we're here. And I know you're scared. But we're going to free this town and we need those keys to do it. Do the right thing. And the DM says, that's good. Roll persuasion. 7. Okay. They eye you suspiciously and say, how do I know you'll not be the next tyrant? Get lost. All right, so he didn't do too terribly well. All right, so then another one of your party steps up and says they're not super charismatic. They say, all right, well, I'll say something clever about him holding a pillow to intimidate him. DM says, all right, roll your intimidation. Yes, 19. You say, that down did very little for the goose it originally defended, and it will do nothing to shield you from me. Hand over the keys, or I'll pluck them from you myself. So you get the gist. This sort of scenario happens all the time. You can have a lot of fun with it, and I really encourage you to role play same way I do, in Dungeons and Dragons. Thank you.
We have the clicker too. You know, I think I'm always playing Dungeons and Dragons because pretty much everybody is surprised by my presence, recognize me, and are desperate for me to leave. All right, finally. 11 talks in and I get a laugh.